So as you can see, I actually have 4 packages here, but I'm going to manage these in a special way because I got a lot of other non-things. First of all, I've caught up on more Disney. We got the Bambi Diamond Edition, Peter Pan Diamond Edition, Lady and the Tramp Diamond Edition, Beauty and the Beast Diamond Edition, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs Diamond Edition. I figured if I just get those 5, and a lot of these were used, I think, in order to be more affordable, then that basically means I'm caught up on the Diamond Edition releases, save for the ones that are coming out. And so I also caught up on other stuff, Sword in the Stone, the Aristocats, the Rescuers Down Under, Pocahontas 2. And interestingly, the camera recognizes her face. We got Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Milo's Return, and then Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. And I guess before we go on too much of that, let's open one of these boxes, which I'm going to guess is the one that has... Yep, we got Treasure Planet and the 101 Dalmatians Diamond Edition. But I also had some non-anime stuff. Most of it is actually Angry Video Game Nerd stuff. That's Volume 1. Volume 2 is interesting. So, I guess to talk about this stuff, Volume 1 comes with 2 discs. Volume 2 comes with 3 discs. And it's recognizing his face. Fun camera. You see, this is Volume 3.5, or this is Volume 3.5, Volume B and Volume S. Now, I was a bit confused, and I figured out that that was kind of the intention. That's kind of why I'm showing this, is because I was thinking, okay, if I were to try and number these, S would be A, B would be B, and 3.5 would be 3. So I figured they were maybe in here backwards, but if you look at the back, it begins with Volume 3.5, Volume B, Volume S. There may be some history to that not quite a understanding, but it's okay. And then everything else is straightforward. Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, and Volume 8. The idea here being that I wanted to get these on DVD because I do have the series on Blu-ray, and I've been monitoring, seeing when a complete collection comes in stock. And this came out recently, which caused a new complete collection of all 8 of these to come out, so I took advantage of that. And then I got Event Horizon. And I do believe this package is relevant to what I'm saying here, because this would be another non-anime thing. I've mentioned before that Race for Your Life Charlie Brown is coming out on DVD, and here it is. Now, you may think that I am done showing stuff other than anime, except next up comes One Night Ultimate Werewolf and One Night Ultimate Werewolf Daybreak. And technically, when I got these, I also ordered the bonus pack. But I guess we have to look in here for that. Let's see. This, the One Night Ultimate Werewolf bonus pack 1. And I created a separate video in case I wanted to go into this in more detail. But the basic idea is it's a simple card game, and I've kind of separated these cards by Daybreak and the original. You can mix and match things. In fact, we played a mixed and matched game. It was very interesting and chaotic. Whereas the Daybreak container simply contains just the things that the cards and tokens and stuff were in. Because I don't know, the quality of the material feels pretty good, and I didn't want to throw it away just yet. But really, that's the meat of everything. And then of the boxes, this big one is actually going to be relevant to this. Because I think I showed y'all that I got Cards Against Humanity, maybe? I don't know. So this one actually contains a couple more board games. And technically there's 2 of these because I bought a copy for my friend. But if I was collecting board games, card games, or whatnot, this was one that he introduced me to that sounded like it would probably be thematically appropriate with my anime obsession. And Flapjacks and Sasquatches, which Ah, yeah, side of bacon expansion included. That's good. So the basic idea of this game, all three of these games, I think Tentacle Bento follows this guy because I haven't played that one yet. But all three of these kind of have the same sort of theme going on where players don't get eliminated. They're just trying to reach a goal, I guess. Now, One Night is quicker than these other two games, I think, but Flapjacks and Sasquatches is fun because the idea is you just play a lumberjack whose goal is to accumulate 21 points of trees. And that probably isn't a hard rule because you could adjust that rule and then change the nature of the game such that people are maybe going to form temporary alliances or break alliances or whatnot. Because I found that with 21 points, you know, the game goes pretty quick once everybody knows what they're doing. This one, it looked like it's a matter... Well, the basic idea is you play a tentacle monster at a all-girls high school, I think. And once again, you're trying to collect the most points until the game reaches a point where 4 major event cards have been drawn. And that's when it's decided who goes. And, yeah, you're a tentacle monster and you're trying to collect girls. Fun concept. Alright. Now, let's go to the 4th package, which contains this week's anime. Which is, again, smaller this week, but a whole lot of that is catching up on all those old Disney movies. And I've actually had that Angry Video Game Nerd thing movie collection ordered for a couple weeks now. So the fact that it arrived now is more happenstance than anything else, but it means that things are winding down. There's only a handful more Disney movies to pick up. And let's see, one of those is Pinocchio, and I'm thinking of waiting until next year when the Diamond Edition release comes out. Maybe somebody else gets me a really cheap DVD version or something. I don't know. Well, I kind of care because it'd be nice to revisit Pinocchio as well. So, here we have Engaged to the Unidentified. I'm not exactly sure what it's about. Region A. Japanese with English subtitles. Only the one disc, but I do know that I've seen at least one fun image on YouTube related to this. I say at least one because it's hard to tell if I've maybe seen others and didn't have a context for the series, because I'm pretty sure so they look similar, but they're definitely different because you can see the girls are just positioned differently, have different attitudes. Interesting. Hold on. Okay, so the DVD's first disc is the same as the cover. And these are 2 characters. I don't know who they are. Unfortunately, I'm highly curious about that series. And also, unfortunately, Reideen Collection 2, I think, finishes the series. It says up to episode 26 back there. And this one I kind of want to watch because I watched a couple episodes, maybe a decade ago when this came out, when it was first airing, near the end of my downloading days. And I didn't watch the first half because I kind of wanted to give myself a chance to have the complete series in front of me. And once again, Japanese with English subtitles. This one's dubbed though. This is Sailor Moon Season 1 Part 2, which has 23 episodes, Region A only. It says this is the conclusion of the first season. Ugh, I knew I forgot to do all of my planning because we're going to take this out. And if you'll give me just a second, I will walk over here, grab Season 1 Part 1. We'll actually see how all of this looks together. First of all, we've got a nice internal artwork there. 24 through 31, 32 through 39, 46, 40 through 46, and then we got DVD versions. So these are Blu-ray versions. I can now see that there's a white outline there. Characters. I'm guessing based on the colors that you got Jupiter and Venus. Okay. That's another Jupiter. Interesting. 40 through 46. It's a very Diz way of organizing the release. Because, so now I get to take that out, and I'm going to put them in here just like that. With that book in the middle, it's pretty much, at this point, it's like the Dragon boxes I'm looking up on my shelf. That's Season 1. It's a nice, shiny release. I'm going to actually leave that there, move these aside, because I'll deal with those off the camera. And here we got Digimon Fusion from Flatiron, which I think is beyond anything that's been released. It's called Season 1. Maybe I was trying to look. Obviously the language is English only. That's no surprise. 6 discs, 64. Okay, so I think the discs themselves might have said the number of episodes on each individual one, maybe. And we got disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, disc 4, disc 5, disc 6 with 30 episodes, which is not quite as much as the previous releases, but given that this one explicitly says Season 1, it suggests it's the first half of a release, which makes sense, I think. There could be 60 episodes, whereas the previous ones were significantly less than that, I guess. I don't know. Well, that's this week's anime DVD collection update. I know it doesn't seem like much, but given that I didn't finish watching everything before, it certainly feels like a lot. So, Golden Time Part 2 is, Collection 2 is the first thing I watched this week. I'm trying, let's see. First of all, now that I've finished it, I can see why people liked it. Obviously, I had doubts going into it because even though there were some things it was doing interestingly and different in the first half, I was feeling a little disconnect with the characters. And I'm still reluctant to say what exactly I felt there because I feel like that could be a bit of a spoiler, but when you get down to it, I thought there was more character growth that happened in the second half here. Nothing that isn't out of the character for the series or anything. Like I mentioned, the first season had its moments, and I think the first half had its moments, and the second half here had its moments as well. And I mentioned that it was pulling a mechanic that was kind of reminiscent of it reminded me of Please Teacher. There's another anime, I forgot its name. But it's kind of there's a medical issue that's relevant to the series that I'm trying to think how to say this exactly right without spoiling too much. The medical issue kind of borders between this feels like it could be a real disorder or it could be based on a real disorder versus okay, now it's just being convenient for plot's sake. And this anime near the end of the last season, the beginning of some of this season, or halves, I guess season's probably the right word, it played around with it in such a way where it's like, you shouldn't be saying that. This is like in Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. It's actually Notre Dame, sorry. The gargoyles, one thing people enjoyed about the movie was you weren't ever quite sure if the gargoyles were a figment of Quasimodo's imagination. And that was one of the things where they could have really kept to that. They didn't for a couple of having fun reasons, maybe. But for the most part, it's an interesting thing to consider watching the movie as if, because he never actually had any real friends, if the only ones he had were imaginary ones or something like that. And you could probably say Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 kind of messes with that in a weird way that brings it into question. May or may not be that big of a deal, but for this one I kind of felt like they were taking what could be an interesting medical issue and making it kind of weird by having it being convenient for the plot's sake, I guess, with just a couple little things. But then I don't know what happened. Either they realized they were being fucking stupid by doing that, or maybe it was always something I was interpreting wrong throughout the entire arc, I guess. But in Collection 2, it kind of started dealing with it in a way that entered more of that, okay, I could believe that this is an actual medical issue sort of thing. Now, what I mean about convenient things, okay, I guess the one I was trying to remember was Kashimashi. In that one, our main character is a guy who aliens accidentally killed, and so they reconstruct him, but they were stupid and brought him back as a girl. And that's an amusing premise, and so like, okay, I want to see where this goes. But the issue is that it developed a love triangle sort of thing, and in the end, one of the girls had some sort of medical issue, which was if people don't feel sorry enough for her, then she was going to be medically worse off or something like that. And that's, I think that's just bad writing. I think, and Police Teacher was doing something like that. The main character, I mean, it's related to the main character's disease, but not exactly. I don't know how to really explain it without spoiling them too much. In fact, I might have just spoiled Kashimashi too much as it is. I don't know. And I'm getting around to that because, for me, Golden Time was, I felt like it was a nice watch, but it got really, it didn't really leave me comfortable, and didn't leave me uncomfortable in a way that I think was necessarily productive, i.e. challenging my beliefs, but more just, again, I can't talk about it too much because I feel like I have to spoil big parts of this series to talk about it. Needless to say, other than that one short part, everything else was just like, okay, even though I don't entirely believe everything the anime's doing or whatnot, I do feel like it was actually approaching the subject from a more mature perspective. I thought it was still pretty immature about the perspective, and this perspective is a romance perspective, i.e. it still is kind of a, oh, true love kind of lingering in the background, like it's having trouble getting away from that. So it's kind of stuck between two kind of immature ways to look at the concept, I guess. But that said, a lot of anime is stuck to one extreme, and this one isn't at the other extreme, it's just hovering a little closer to it than I would have preferred. So overall, it's definitely a lot more genre-aware than a lot of romance animes I've seen, as in... Well, I guess I don't know if I've seen too many romance-aware ones, just harem anime that are like, oh, we should also pretend we're a romance anime or something like that. The other thing to mention about it is the second season's opening is got to be one of the most bizarre things I've seen in a while, and I guess it's less a weird thing to see so much as it's a weird thing to hear. There's a part of me that hears it and is tempted to not think of it as an opening song, but the other part that says it's strange. And if that had been the opening in the first half, I might have actually dropped the series because I would have seen it as a rather pretentious thing to do. But having established as much as the series has established as it is, I thought it worked out pretty well. So as you can see from here, the next thing was I watched Bento. And I think I mentioned last week that I thought somebody had said that I would like this, but now I'm not quite sure who, because the person who I thought said it, which was my brother's wife, and she's Japanese, reads a lot of manga, and is very curious about certain manga that have been adapted into anime and whether or not those anime are here and what I think about them. I thought this was one of those, but I guess it's not. And along those lines, yeah, I had some trouble watching it because, for the most part, it's okay, but there's some parts in it that where the characters just really piss me off, where I would like to punch these people and knock them over the head with a clue by 4, because, well, I guess it really depends on the person and the time in this anime. Some people were consistently just horrible people the entire time. There's this one classmate who likes to hit our main character because she's a projecting bitch who keeps thinking he's doing to other people what she does to those other people. Yeah, this one security guard who's like, oh no, for the sake of this specific person, I'm protecting them. It's just like, who the fuck is he to sexually molest somebody just because he doesn't like the fact that they're there? That person should be shot. Fuck that person. And she did one cunty thing. She was kind of a weird, hard to agree with person here and there, but it's one, that was an intolerable thing. I don't really want to say it, not because it's too bad, but because it spoils that one scene. Somebody who actually enjoys this stuff may actually prefer it, but you know, it really did not settle well with me, and I had to keep taking breathers. Not that it's been a particularly calm week or anything. It's hard to say what to think about the ending. It's a strange show, and I could see some people liking it, but I'm definitely not one of those people. So, I started watching Coppelion, but I don't know. I'm not sure how many episodes in I am. It's really hard to tell, because I took a look on my anime list to see that it's actually rated pretty low, and so far, I guess the only reason I can come up with why that is because it's not really giving anything gripping that would pull in a lot of audiences. For me, I'm enjoying it mostly because it's kind of calmer, slower. There isn't much of a narrative, I guess. I'm not sure. For me, I think it's interesting because I commented before that it definitely looks like something Viz wouldn't pick up that they would pick up. The colorization on the Blu-ray DVD reminded me of K. And it's definitely had that feel to it. That kind of colorization, but it's a really weird presentation. Like, you can kind of feel that it is set up to have 3 high school girls wandering through an overgrown, abandoned city. And I don't know how much of the premise is supposed to be surprised or leaving you guessing or whatnot, but so I don't think I could talk too much about it. All I know is I've been watching it, and there doesn't seem to be much of a reason to be watching it, but at the same time, maybe I'm just enjoying the break that it's giving me. I guess I'll have more to say once I've finished watching it, I guess. So, other than that stuff, I guess there's still plenty of other things to talk about. First of all, I have been playing Starbound a bit, and I was pretty disappointed by the first mission that they present you. I don't remember if I complained about it last time, but there's plenty to complain about simply because there's no progression. It doesn't have proper progression, which is to say, it's a really neat concept with a neat kind of flow to it, but the combat in Starbound kind of gets in the way. Where, in the end, you're supposed to use a very specific skill that the game's actually been training you not to use up to that point. It takes you a long time to get through the facility the first time, and then the second time you just start realizing, okay, I can just ignore most of the monsters. Oh, hey, here's a shortcut that you're not supposed to be able to take, but here we go, I'm taking it anyways. the real problem is you fight the boss. Actually, some of the enemies are a problem as well, because when you get down to it, you don't really have much opportunity to slow down, pick things up, and not every game has to be like that, but Starbound hasn't been presenting itself as some sort of hardcore, I want to be the guy sort of game, which kills you really quick if you didn't figure the things out. And so, in some ways, it looks like it should be kind of like Mega Man, but it's missing some of the things that Mega Man really has in terms of really introducing you to a lot of the concepts, I guess. Which isn't to say that they don't try in some of these cases, but it's just too crazy, and there's a little inconsistency as well, because when you start the second mission, the first mission you're like, okay, well, I had this progression to go through, and the second mission, I'll be prepared for that, and oh, I'm being attacked by a big boss right off the bat. Some of that may be that the mining mission wasn't maybe intended to make it into the beta, into the unstable as quickly as it did. And so there's some things about it that are definitely bugs, and there's some things about it that are definitely poorly planned from a gaming perspective. My big problem being that if I wanted to introduce, say, my mom to the game, I'm not going to try. She plays Minecraft. She knows to build a road out into the desert, and most of the time she's really good about going to bed so she doesn't have to fight most of the monsters because, well, everybody who plays on the server now, I'm the only one who really knows how to take any of them on, apparently. That's not really the case, but it's unfortunate. I'm hoping that maybe it's something they fix in the future, but I was hoping they wouldn't even start going down this route in the first place. And it was frustrating doing it a couple times, but I just gave up that first night. I was probably watching something while doing that too. No, I can't think what. All I know is I did watch 4 of these movies. I have them here to help me remember. So I watched Lucy. It's an okay movie. I already knew going into it that it's based on the stupid premise, humans only use 10% of their brains. And unfortunately, it kind of goes deeper down that route than I thought. If it had just been a kind of a premise and then the series kind of goes along with it, then yeah, fine. Except then it starts talking about, like, well, if humans could use blank percent of their brain, even though we've never had any reason to understand how that would happen, then they would begin controlling their own something or the other, blah, blah, blah. And it's that all of that stuff was just ridiculous, stupid. From an action movie perspective, it's showy. I guess I was seeing something that was talking about how, you know, one problem with it is you don't have vulnerability to a degree. And while those elements were presented in the movie, it missed opportunities. So in the end, it's kind of an interesting revenge flick, sort of. Not terribly deep action-wise, but it has action in it that's flashing, keeps you going and curious what's going to happen next. I watched Brother Bear. It was okay. It's definitely not going to be a favorite Disney movie anytime soon, but it didn't feel as preachy as some movies, Disney movies that come to mind. Like, I don't know if Pocahontas did. I rewatched The Fox and the Hound. It was just as great as I remembered it would be. I mean, it's a simple story, but it's great. I like it. Event Horizon's okay. I mean, I kind of remembered the general idea of what happened because I had watched it once before. I just didn't remember the explicit details, and so part of rewatching it was seeing those explicit details and kind of trying to remember how it puts together that movie as a horror movie. Because I know that there's some people who think this as the scariest movie ever. There's others who think The Exorcist is, and I guess I've never really watched The Exorcist. I just have a pretty good idea of what it is, and I'm not sure how scared I would be. It's hard to say. But sometimes horror can be hit and miss. Part of the reason we that I watched Event Horizon was because my friend had kind of realized no horror movie had really scared him. And this isn't to say that jump scares hadn't startled him, but jump scares aren't really a scare when you get down to it. I guess that was another thing I watched recently on YouTube, but the entire point is he hadn't watched the movie and felt actually legitimately scared, and he was interested to see what he could explore. But I know he's seen certain movies that just haven't scared him, and they've terrified me. I think Ring is a really good example of this, although, to be fair, with Ring, I didn't have any friends with me when I watched that in theaters. Then I had a nice long walk to myself back to the buses to think about, then a bus ride back to my car to think about, and then a 30 to 45 minute drive home to think about it. So I had a lot of time to myself to reminisce on that movie. So that could be a part of it. But I think part of it is there's this real... It plays with your imagination a bit more. Things where you're like... I could be sitting here recording this video and not even notice a ghostly distortion over my shoulder or something like that. Oof, that actually is kind of creepy. And The Ring kind of plays around with that sort of paranoia, and I really like that. And there might be others like it that I've written off. But I don't know. I'm kind of going on an edge. Again, Event Horizon, I think there was some really neat ideas in there. I think some people have talked about how some of the ideas make it seem like it takes place in the Warhammer universe, and I'm not terribly familiar with it myself, but that's always a neat thing, and if that's not the case, then it could have been heavily inspired by that. And I know that there was definite potential to it, since there's some sense of paranoia, but I think part of the issue is it gets a little distracted by needing to try and be graphic, I guess. Maybe it could stand to be a bit longer. It was probably 90 minutes, 95 minutes. Yeah, I'm wondering if it was given another 30 minutes and an instruction not to be as graphical or something. If instead it focused more on some of the underlying concepts. I could kind of see it actually having been spectacular. As it is now, it's probably still spectacular for some people out there, because it's an interesting science fiction flick that's also a horror flick. And yeah, I guess that's that. I can't think of anything else to mention. It may have been something I pre-ordered. No. It's all complicated. All I know for now is that I'm going to go ahead and end the anime DVD collection update there, since these do tend to be kind of long as it is. I guess I should give the update on my brother's gaming video stuff, and I think we're close to having a theme song. We might just need a title card, and then we'll start working on uploading videos to YouTube at some point. So, we'll figure that out. Y'all have a nice week.